Pato and welcome to Backyard Ultra Weekly. Now, before I forget, please hit that subscribe button. Now, my first interview this week is with someone who's really sunk their teeth into the statistical side of the Backyard Ultra. Wazza. He's sailed the seven seas in search for everything statistical he can find as far as the Backyard Ultra goes. And here he is to talk about it. G'day, Wazza. How you going?
Hey, good, thanks, Peter. How are you?
Yeah, good. So before we get on to the stats side of things, how did you get into Backyard Ultras?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, like most, I kind of followed the format for a few years before dipping my toes into it myself. I'd watched a fair few events, probably dating back to about 2021 when Harvey Lewis won Bigs. Might have been earlier than that. I don't recall exactly. I do remember that record being set and being pretty amazed at the time because I think it was 85 yards in 2021. So yeah. At the time, Sydney didn't have any Backyard Ultra events itself. So I'd watch the record sort of go up and down, or not down, but up, notably with Moraine and Evo as well when they set theirs. And then obviously DCG happened. But then I got wind that a couple of Strava friends, Dave Benny and Kevin Brick Heaton were setting up a backyard in Sydney, and Brick's backyard happened.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had other plans that day, so I couldn't actually go to that one. So I sort of went, I'll go to the next one. And then, 2024, I actually first dipped my toes into actually having a crack.
Yeah, awesome. So that was that at Sydney's last year?
Yeah, Sydney in October last year, yeah.
Yep, awesome. And how did you go?
Not fantastic. I was happy enough with the result. I ended up with 8 laps. I had just some muscle cramps that just absolutely shot in my legs and could hardly walk at the end of the 8th lap. Started the 9th and then immediately just pulled out with the medics.
Yeah,
forced me to leave the course.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you start getting interested in the stats side of things?
Yeah, well, I've always been interested in stats and data analysis. A lot of what I do for work is database driven, and with the growth in both the nature of the sport and the records themselves, I've been super interested in keeping an eye on the major events as those things happen. So like Suffolk, Legends, etc. But yeah, look. I've always found that fascinating. And prior to doing my first backyard, I sort of did a bit of research. Obviously found your podcast, was quite interested in that. But I also stumbled across Clayton's Backyard Ultra Run Club. Got in touch with him and a few others via their WhatsApp group. And then, I met Clayton at Sydney's, started chatting to a few of the guys. Obviously, I met Tim Moffat and Jashi and a couple of others who are all interested in the stats as well. And we started just chatting more and more about the different statistics and got really sort of more into it from there.
Yeah. So I know you've gone really deep in the Australian stats. What about the rest of the world? Are you have you got a grasp on what's going on all over the world, or mainly just Australia?
Mainly just Australia. It's a large world, and it's super hard to get too in depth on anything globally because there are just so many events. And I think Laz himself has actually said that he struggles to keep up. There's so many new events popping up and new things to keep an eye on. So yeah, I've mostly focused on Australia. Having said that, I've got a bit of interest in New Zealand as well. I've got family from New Zealand, so I've kept an eye on things over there, and as the sport's grown over there as well, I've been trying to keep track of some of the statistics. Not as easy to reach and easy to put together as Australia, but that's just because of obviously geographic location. But yeah, it's close enough that the data is accessible, and one of my goals in the future will be to try and do what I've done for Australia to New Zealand as well.
Yeah, awesome. So have you noticed any emerging trends when you look closely at the stats?
Yes and no. I think from the last few backyard ultras that I've sort of provided a few statistics and things to run directors prior to their events based on their starting lists. We've noted that it seems to be, I mean, obviously the sport's growing, but there are a lot of first timers taking their first crack at the sport. It's definitely been a trend in the last 6 months that I've noticed that every single event has had 50% or more first timers.
Yeah.
It's especially a massive event like Sydney, where they had 473 runners. Of those, 3/4 were doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's certainly grown in that, and I think year on year we're just sort of seeing more and more people having a go at a backyard. And while most of those are hopefully coming back and having another go, the stats aren't so much reflecting that. I haven't run the figures to see how many are growing in their second or third backyards yet, but certainly year on year, the growth in new runners is massive. And I think as part of that, we've seen a downward trend in the average number of laps per event, because there's so many more first timers doing those small to mid-range ones. Obviously, the top end's going further up, but the average or the median sort of coming down, which is fantastic. It shows, I guess, how much more inclusive the sport's getting as well. So that's
Yeah, for sure. And just talking about first timers, have you had a look? What's kind of like the average amount of yards that someone doing a backyard ultra for the first time will run?
I think it depends on the event. We tend to notice the major dropouts tend to happen around that 50-kilometer mark, because that's your first major milestone. I've done my ultra at that point, and then the massive dropout is the 100-kilometer, because a lot of people go, oh, it's a backyard, it's an easy way or easier way to get to 100 kilometers. And Sydney, again, perfect example of that. 93 people dropped at 100 laps.
Yeah.
Nearly a quarter of the field were gone within that space. And I guess that's kind of the nature of it, is people aren't necessarily looking at it going, oh, I could do 119 laps. They're going, oh, I could do 100 kilometers, and that's good enough for me as a first timer.
Yeah, that's unreal. And I think that that's important that first timers understand there's no pressure to like break 100 or even do 24. Just to go out, have a good time, and find your own limit is what's most important, I think.
Definitely.
Now, so Dead Cow Gully was a huge race. Can you break down that race for me as far as stats go?
Yeah, I can do my best. Look, this year's Dead Cow, it was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed watching yourself and the event unfold through the live stream. I really wish I could have been there for this one. I personally knew quite a few runners who took part, and through a lot of my research, I feel like I certainly knew of most of the field going into the event. So I was deeply invested in this one. And yeah, having spoken to yourself and others in the lead up about stats, I was also keen to just keep an eye on the live stream and really sort of, throughout just be there as much as I could without physically being there. But look, as far as stats and records go, we all know the big ones. Phil and Sam obviously passing Lukash's 116 yards to go to 119, 118 respectively was simply amazing. They set both the world, Australian, and New Zealand records all in one go. Both, of course, beating their own national records, which they'd set obviously at DCG a couple of years ago. But we also saw both the Australian and New Zealand women's national records, both beaten equally on yard 52 by Holly Ranson and Jane McAlpine. They both obviously went on to push those records further, Holly to 61 and Jane at 53. Oriol set a new national record for Spain with his 102 yards. What else do I have? Of the 270 starters at DCG, 202 of those actually beat their previous bests.
Wow.
So we had, nearly 80% of runners, even just partaking, beat their previous bests. That does include first timers. Obviously, my first time, I'm going to set a record. That is my new PB. But of those who'd run a PB before, 6 of the ones who beat their had run a backyard before, 6 of those actually beat their previous bests by 20 or more yards.
Wow.
Which is just massive. And that includes runners like Jonathan Ash, who absolutely smashed it. He's now the second Australian ever to have cracked the 100 yards. And Holly Ranson, of course, going on to set a national women's record of 61 yards, beating her own best by 23.
Wow.
But yeah, there were 84 runners who ran 24 or more yards. That got misreported during the event at 87, but while looking through the results, I actually found there were 3 runners who just failed to remove their ear tags in time when that photo was taken and published.
Yeah.
So 84 running at 24 yards is the more accurate number. Following on from there, we kind of expected that more records in terms of numbers would topple.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, after 24 yards, there was a bit more of a drop off in numbers at DCG, and Big's 2023 pretty much still holds all those further up records, such as, you know, more runners at 48, 72, 96, 100.
Yeah.
And there's one more major record which isn't normally sort of put together, but one that I found fascinating, and I believe it was set. A father and son running in the same backyard ultra, with a new record of 121 yards between them.
Wow.
Obviously, Sam Harvey at 118 and his father Michael pushed out 3 yards in his first backyard.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the record had only recently been set at 71 yards, which is still pretty massive.
Yeah.
By Oliver Sheikey and his dad Michael at Coffs Harbour, where they did 37 and 34 yards respectively. I think the next closest would be Tim and Ollie Kay, who did 57 combined at Mirren last year. So I'm pretty sure that's the next major record. I don't know how long it'll be till that record gets beaten. That's a massive 121 yards.
Yeah.
But, you know, it could be done.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. So now I've had a look at the website that you've made, and it's really, really good. So can you tell us a bit about the website?
Yeah, sure. Earlier this year, I was recovering from a pretty serious injury when I tripped over and hurt myself while running and tore some muscles in my leg. So I had a bit of time and I started digging into a few more backyard ultra stats. And I kind of wish there was a better way to see a runner's past performances, as well as being able to sort of see who else might be running in an upcoming event. I came into a few issues just trying to find information about runners. The major sites online tend to exclude results less than either 24 hours or 7 hours. And there wasn't really an easy way to find a particular runner and see just their backyard ultra stats or their progression. So from that, I started putting together a bit of a database of Australian events. And then I sourced complete results where possible direct from the events and started putting together a list, combining and matching up runners who'd run in multiple ones. So I've got their combined statistics. And I've started, and so I've put together a historical record of well over 10,000 individual runners so far, and all of their results and everything. And it's now up at backyardultra.com.au.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean it's very, very thorough, and it looks like you've sailed the 7 seas to get all the information you can. So if someone out there has run even just 1 yard at one backyard ultra, they should be on that website.
Yeah, so that at the crux of it, the idea of the site was that it wouldn't exclude anyone.
Yeah.
If you run a yard, to me, you're a backyard ultra runner.
Yeah,
you might not have run an ultra marathon distance, but to me, that's not what the backyard ultra format is about. It's an ultra marathon, but the format to me is more of an ultimate test in competing against yourself. It's one thing to enter a 100-kilometer race and to DNF, but to enter a backyard ultra and do X number of yards is a totally different story.
Yeah.
Because next year, your target's not about doing it quicker. It's about going further than you did last year and doing it differently. It's a whole different ballgame. So yeah, if you've run a yard, you should be listed. Admittedly, there are a few results missing from a few events where they don't have published results to a certain extent. I'm still working with a few run directors to try and gain access to any information that they might have and results that are missing. We've been able to piece together quite a few events that previously hadn't had published results. So that's a good thing so far. Yeah. And I'm looking to add more features to the site to allow people to assist by sharing proof of their own results for those events that I may not have the data for yet.
Yeah, so you're a bit of a backyard ultra historian as well.
Doing my best, yes.
So Biggs is only 3 months away.
Yeah.
Looking at the history of the results, how likely do you think it is that we'll see a new world record at Biggs?
A new world record is, I mean, it's entirely possible. And I think given the caliber of this year's field, it's a pretty safe bet to assume that records will be beaten. But honestly, I don't know. I'm very interested to see where the Backyard Ultra record could eventually be set. I know prior to Dead Cow, Sam Harvey said that he was going to run 150 laps if he could find someone to run 149 for it.
Yeah.
Eh, it's a good target, and whether or not Sam was being realistic in his prediction is a whole other question. But what we're talking about with 150 hours is running 1,000 kilometers in 6.25 days. Now, in all of recorded running history, that's only, as far as I know, been done about 9 times. And 4 of those times have been done by Yanis Kouros, the Greek Aussie who did it in the 80s predominantly. So for a backyard ultra to get to that point, we actually need not 1 but 2 runners that are actually fully capable of doing so. I'd love to see it happen, but I think statistically speaking, it's improbable.
Yeah.
What the upper limit is, though, I have no idea. I don't think anyone can know at this point, especially given how much the records have grown over the past few years. I'd love to see Biggs do it, but I think realistically, to get into the 120s is entirely possible. How far they can go from there, who knows?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll put it out there. I'll say my prediction for Biggs will be 122 yards. So, well, what do you think?
Why stop there? 125.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So do you have any backyard ultras coming up?
Yeah, I do. I'm actually running at Red's Backyard Ultra down in Port Kembla, New South Wales next weekend.
Awesome.
It's actually going to be my first serious go at a backyard ultra since my injury, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of friends and acquaintances running it as well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a bit of a party atmosphere on some of the laps, and should be quite fun. I've also got a ticket for Coffs Harbour next year. Haven't really thought too much about other events yet. I'm going to just see how it goes after Reds.
Yeah, awesome. Well, all the best at Reds. That's always a fun race to watch. It looks like a really good course and really well organised race.
Yeah, I think so. And there's a lot of people I know going to be there as well, whether it's support or running. And I think, it's going to be fun to just be able to have a go with all of them.
Yeah, cool. Now, before we go, Wazza, what's your website called?
Yep, it's nice and simple. It's backyardultra.com.au.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. All the best at Reds in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
See you, mate.
Yes. Bye.
So this weekend, there are 8 backyard ultras being held across the globe in countries Ecuador, Uruguay, Russia, Portugal, 2 in the USA and 2 in Canada. Jonathan and Donnie from the Sweaty Backyard Cox Ultra came on for a chat. Okay, Jonathan and Donnie, how you going?
How you doing? Good.
Doing great.
Great. So the Sweaty Backyard Cox Ultra is on this weekend. Where does the Cox come from in the name?
Donnie, you want me to take it?
Yep, go ahead.
No, it's the owners of the land, Shane and Melissa Cox. That's
Right.
where it came from. So they wanted a little play on words with the name. So we we kind of honored them sort of with the name of the race. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, nice. And
Sweaty
Yeah,
because it's July.
And Pato, it's when we first came up with this, we said the Sweaty Backyard Cox Ultra. And that's a mouthful. Most people just call it the Sweaty Cox now. And that's pretty much just, that's what it is. So.
yeah, I like it. I like it. And whereabouts in the States are you?
We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yep.
Yeah, and that's a pretty. What's it like there? I've never been to the States. I know Charlotte's kind of south, but I don't really know much else.
Donnie, you want me to talk this? You want to talk about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's in North Carolina, so it's July in the South. It's going to be 100 degrees Fahrenheit on Saturday. So I'm not sure what that translates into Celsius, but yeah, it's super hot and muggy.
Yeah,
So we that's why we made it. So it's going to be hot for this race. So,
yeah, nice. And can you tell me a bit about how the race began? A brief history of the Sweaty Cox.
Donnie, go ahead.
Yeah, so Pato, Jonathan and I used to run at a mountain bike trail in Charlotte quite a bit, and it was at the time it was about 10 miles of just single track, and it was on private property. And we loved running out there so much, and there were a lot of mountain bikers, but there weren't really any runners going out there. And so um, we had this idea to hold an ultra race, and I think that was probably going back to like 2014 or so. Uh, and it was owned by a man named Steve, and so we decided that was our first race. We had never, been race directors before, and so we called it the Stevest. In ultra running, everybody's always talking about precedents and superlatives and all this stuff, and we said, well, this will be the Stevest of all races, and so we really named it to honor him. And that first year, we had about 10 people show up. It was a really small thing. One person finished. Again, it was the last Saturday of July. Races have always been the last Saturday of July. That was another thing, Pato, that we hit on was, at that point in time in our area, we're starting to crop up a good number of races in the spring and the fall because the weather's nice here. But there was absolutely nothing in the summer. And so we had this nice big hole to fill. And so we said, okay, last Saturday of July, and it sucks. It's horrible, and it it's as much the humidity as anything. The humidity is just very thick this time of year here, and especially when you get out into the trails, the canopy's so thick. This time of year, it just traps all of that heat, and it's like a sauna.
Yeah.
And so, we came up with this concept for a race. We held it 9 years in a row. And it was really just all about the local Charlotte trail running community. And, it was a great race. We ended up, capping it at about 50 people. We would fill up every year, have a pretty large wait list. And it was a pretty well-known thing, in the Charlotte and greater Charlotte area, here in North Carolina. And a few years ago, actually, it was the week before the 8th year that we ran the race, Steve unexpectedly passed away. So the guy who we named the race after, who we had this great partnership with, passed away. And the family in the 9th year told us, hey, this is going to be the last year. We're not going to keep these trails open anymore. We don't want to accept the liability. And Jonathan and I had been talking about the backyard concept for a couple of years. We hadn't really done anything with it because we already had our other race, but we were thinking about going in that direction at some point as a second race. And we were really fortunate that one of our key volunteers for all those years at the Stevest, her and her husband had just bought this property very close actually to where our original race was. And they said, look, if you guys want to help us develop a trail system, you can have a race out here.
Yeah.
And it worked out well. And so, Jonathan and one of his really close friends spent a lot of time with the landowners and built literally perfect backyard loop. I mean, had complete control over the entire development of the course. It was handmade specifically for backyard.
Wow.
And so that's where it came from, Pato. We had this great following from our original race. And I think it really coincided with, the backyard scene really just catching fire and being so big. It was really good timing for us. So that's the origin. We held the first running of the Sweaty Cox last year. So 2024 was the first year that we ran it. And here we are, only a few days away from the second year. And so last year we capped it at 25 because, Pato, most of us are willing to try anything once and just kind of see how it goes. And it went pretty good. So he said, let's do it again.
Yeah.
So here we are. And so we got 40 people on the list this year, and pretty exciting. It's going to be, like Jonathan was saying, it's going to be super hot. It's one of the hottest days on record this coming Saturday. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays into it. But
yeah. So I think it's pretty rare for a backyard ultra course to be designed from scratch. So when you were designing the course, what were the most important things you wanted to have as part of the course?
Go ahead, Jonathan.
So kind of to allude what Donnie had said about our previous race, the Stevest, it was a difficult race in the Charlotte area. We want to make sure that things are hard for people. Not in the sense of things that are hard for people, but we want to make sure that they challenge themselves during a race, not just because that's why we sat on one of the hottest days of the year, the last Saturday in July, but we also want to make a difficult race for people to challenge themselves on. So it was kind of, the Stevest was always hand in hand, and it's a tough race. You got to do 42 miles in 10 hours, and it's going to be 95 degrees, and the elevation is going to be significant. It's all single track. So we wanted to make sure that translated. If we call ourselves the Stevest guys, because that's just what people just presented, because it's just both of us race directing, like, oh, the Stevest guys are doing something. So it just kind of carried on to the next thing, which is the backyard ultra scene. And we're the Stevest guys, Jonathan and Donnie. But we want to make sure that if we hold a race, it's going to be the way that the Stevest guys, are going to build a race. So it's about 95% single track trail. 5% is about Jeep road. You cross one stream twice, back and forth, and you get 900 feet of elevation gain in a loop. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
We want to make sure it wasn't going to be easy. Partly because we didn't want to be out there for 3 days in 98-degree heat, but we want to make sure that, hey, if you did 12 yards, 13 yards at the Sweaty Cox, man, that's really good, because I can't do 900 times 13 off the top of my head, but that's a lot. And that's pretty good amount of footage gain per lap. So we wanted something that people can kind of strive towards, like how many can you get at our race? And that's kind of way we developed it. We hand built it with that in mind.
Yeah.
And then we took an engineering, rolled it off twice to assure we got the exact mileage. So
yeah, that's unreal. So with the what kind of wildlife might runners run into while they're out there running the Sweaty Cox?
Well, Donnie, per our race document, you want to say we got some
no
snake?
Go ahead.
What
do we have?
Oh, snakes. I love snakes, but those guys, we have some skunks. Maybe a cow every once in a while might wander out, but that's about it. That's about all the wildlife you'll see out there.
Yeah. Did you say
Pato, Jonathan's hesitating. He doesn't want to talk about Bigfoot. We don't know if this is one of those kinds of podcasts, but I'm pretty sure Jonathan feels pretty strongly there's probably a Bigfoot or two out there. So
maybe.
Yeah,
it's pretty desolate out there. Maybe there's a Bigfoot.
yeah. And did you say cow? Cow?
Yeah, there's a cow that's wandered over from a farm, and it's kind of wandered onto the trail a couple times. So yeah, he might be there. We don't know.
Okay.
But you might see him.
Yeah. Awesome. And what about your own personal backyard ultra history? Have either of you run in a backyard ultra yourselves?
Nope.
No, I have not. No. We've run some 50 and 100 milers, but no backyard ultras. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Are you planning on running one anytime soon?
I'd really like to. Yeah, I've definitely been looking around. The whole thing has been strategizing on making sure our backyard ultra was where it needed to be. Because we worked with Laz, we wanted to get within the team competition. So we're a bronze race this year. So we got the bronze coin to award, along with the Sweaty Cox coin we had custom made. So, we a lot was spent on just making sure this race was moving in the right direction and can kind of operate, and then we can kind of find our own races to do at some point. But I'd love to do one. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you mentioned it's a bronze coin race. Which race does it get the winner into?
The Capitol Backyard.
Okay. Yep. Awesome.
It's in Virginia, just outside of DC.
Yep. Yep. Beautiful. Now is last year's last one standing? Are they coming back to defend their title this year?
Yeah, Donnie, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the finisher and the assist are both coming back, Pato.
Cool.
And what's interesting is Caleb Beatty, he was the finisher last year. Lisa Roberts was the assist. And what's interesting is they actually dueled it out at the last running of our previous race. And so it's a rivalry. And actually Lisa won overall, just barely beat Caleb the last running of the Stevest. And so there's a little bit of a rivalry there, that's kind of moved across races. It's a lot of fun. So, Yep, they'll both be back this year.
Yep, very good.
And a lot more to run for. Obviously Jonathan mentioned the bronze coin. One of the things, Pato, that we've done is we've developed a really good partnership with a local brewery here in Charlotte called Vaulted Oak, and we've worked with them on some things. And I don't know how much attention you pay to the broader ultra scene, but Run Rabbit Run, which is a phenomenal race out in Steamboat, Colorado, I think they just announced today that they've upped their total amount of prize money to $20,000. And one of the things that Jonathan and I have always wanted to do is have a purse, because we feel the same way that like Run Rabbit Run does, is that, runners are killing themselves to do these races. And especially, in our race, I mean, the variables are hard, right? I mean, we're putting the race right in the middle of the worst part of the weather, right? It's by far the hardest, right? Is that heat. It's brutal. Our course is extremely hard. Jonathan mentioned 900 feet of vertical per lap. That's very difficult. I don't know that there's many backyards that really have that kind of a profile. And not just that, but it's extremely technical single track. This is very typical. If you hear about the Appalachian Trail, it's very typical of southeastern U.S. single track. It's very, very difficult. These are not buffed out, smooth dirt highways.
Yeah.
And so we're not at Run Rabbit Run money yet, but having worked with Vaulted Oak, our partner, we've got a $500 cash prize this year if the finisher goes 24,
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
If they make it to the 24 mark, so that's a hinge point. But so there's some things at stake, right? And we're really trying to make it competitive and make it interesting. So.
Yeah, I love that. And so what was the a total the last one standing got last year?
11.
11. Okay. Yep. Awesome. So it definitely sounds like a hard course, and but I love this prize money thing. So the surface, is it just mainly dirt and gravel and things like that?
It's all dirt, rooty, dirt, and rocky. That's pretty much it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's all single track.
Excellent. Now, you've mentioned the last one standing and the assist are coming from last year. Are there any other runners that you're excited to watch? Any other runners of note who are taking part in the race?
Donnie, have you looked at the list?
No, Pato, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I have learned my lesson. Years and years and years, Jonathan and I have spent looking at Ultra Sign Up, looking at who's coming in, trying to figure out what their experience was. And I mean, you can learn a little bit, from doing that. But I think one of the things I learned last year is, and I'm sure that this knowledge will continue to grow, but you really learn a lot from race day, right? Seeing how people conduct themselves on the first lap, the first couple of laps, you start to get a sense for, who's really game, who's really here to play, who knows what they're doing. And so I personally just don't pay much attention to it. And so Jonathan, I think maybe you look at it a little bit more than I do. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on it.
Yeah, I looked at the list. Because that's just what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look at everybody and see are we gonna stay the night? Are we gonna be sleeping out there again? Yeah, there's a couple of guys. I'm sure you're probably not even aware, David or Pato. Kevin Hodak looks like a challenger. He in a local 100-mile race, I think he got third. So there's a few people like that kind of look like. I think we're depending on the heat this year with 100-degree heat. It could probably go past 11 yards. With Caleb winning last year at 11, he could have gone a lot longer last year, but the assist could only go so far. So yeah, I really think that it's going to go later. It's going to go the nighttime this year.
Yeah, excellent. Now, how can people follow along at home?
Donnie, social media.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's it's a funny topic. So Jonathan texted me today, Pato, and said, "Hey, if we get 50 subscribers on YouTube, we might be able to go live on YouTube." So last year, we did Instagram Live, and so what we would do is about 5 to 10 minutes before the yard was over, we would bring Instagram Live up, and then we keep it open until about 5 minutes, a couple minutes after the next yard starts. And so, kind of planning to do that, but the YouTube option seems like a really good one, as well. And so we kind of had a little bit of a media blitz today with our small tight-knit community. We just started our YouTube page a few weeks ago, and we didn't have enough subscribers. So we got to 56 subscribers. It's a big landmark, but we got the minimum today. So
excellent. So you'll be live streaming on YouTube then.
That's the plan. That is the plan. We're pretty naive to the YouTube, so I think we got 64 now, Donnie. I just checked, but it says that we should be able to live stream. Either that, if it doesn't work, we'll be live streaming through Instagram. Yeah. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and it's the Stevis guys.
Okay, so it's the Stevis guys on all those platforms?
It is. Yep, you'll find us. Yep.
All right, perfect. And so the race
and also, Pato, you can also Google Sweaty Cox, and that'll come up too. I highly recommend that Google search.
Okay.
Just don't do it at work.
All right. So it starts on Saturday. What time does it start?
8 a.m.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
unreal.
Plenty of time for it to get one lap in before it really heats up.
Yeah, awesome. And you said it's capped at 40 runners, so it's going to be. I can just imagine it's going to be a really good vibe in a place like that. Like it sounds like lots of trees and stuff like that. Like it's going to be a bit of a camp feel.
Right. It's entirely encapsulated in the woods. So the parking is in the woods. The tent area is in the woods. Everything. The whole race takes place in the woods. You would from the highway or the road, you'd never know what's going on in there. So
awesome.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, we'll camp out the night before, and it's a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like a really fun race. So I'm looking forward to following along.
Sweet.
Thanks for coming on the show, and all the best on the weekend.
Thanks, Pato. I appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks, Pato. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thanks. And Jeremy from Prairie Chaos Backyard Ultra came on for a chat as well. Hi, Jeremy. How you going?
I'm doing great, Pato. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a great day over here.
Yeah. So this weekend we've got the Prairie Chaos Backyard Ultra, which I believe you're the person behind the race. So can you tell me about the race, a bit about its history and how it came to be?
Sure. So actually it's myself, Jeremy, and then my partner, Chris Shumsky, my business partner. He's actually like my best friend. So it kind of came about. I've had this idea going on now since maybe 2019 or so, because I just love the format, even before I participated in one.
Yeah.
And then thought that there's a big need because there is no backyard ultra within maybe 800 or 1,000 kilometer radius from us. So, but last year one started here
Right.
locally. So it's happened twice now. So I was thinking just that there is probably a need and kind of a niche for it, and I just have a passion for it. And fortunately for me, unfortunately for my friend, he's a school teacher, and he hurt himself coaching hockey, and he
Right.
fell and he needed surgery. So he's been off work since January all the way through to September.
Wow.
So I don't really have the time in my work and personal life to put this all together. But I asked him if he was interested, and we started kind of reconning courses and working on this concept.
Yeah, excellent. So, in whereabouts? I know you're in Canada, but whereabouts is it, and what's the area like there?
Yeah, so we're very central Canada. It's in Winnipeg actually, so it's kind of a large city in central Canada, like large as in the greater area. There's around 1 million people, so it's still relatively small. Where we live, it's a floodplain. It's a very flat prairie, so we have basically no elevation gain to speak of. So it's pretty conducive to this kind of race. And we have like lots of flat open area and forested area, beautiful to like kind of make it easier course. That's kind of social, where people can go side by side, but still interesting.
Yeah, excellent. And you mentioned that you started getting into the format in 2019. When did you lock this race down? When did you decide, yes, I'm going to organize a backyard ultra?
We came up with this concept in February or March this year. March. And I think we kind of had it decided that we were going to try to do it maybe early April or mid April. So by the time we announced it, we kind of pulled the trigger pretty quick on things, just to kind of get it going this year when we knew that we would have the time.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Now it sounds like, from what you've said, it sounds like it's a nice and flat course. Like, what's the surface like, and is there any variation in the surface or landscapes or anything like that?
Well, at the start, the first maybe 300 or 400 meters, we're looking at some for the area technical single track, but it's pretty short lived at the beginning there, and then we kind of get into an open prairie beside a forest for the next kilometer or so, and then we turn into the forest completely for maybe the next 4 kilometers till about like there's about 1 mile left. We're kind of in these forested double wide trails for the most part. They're very twisty. And then we go into an open prairie for about the last 1,500 meters or so.
Okay, yeah, it sounds
So
pretty
a little
fun.
bit rooty, a little bit rocky, but mostly flat, fairly civilized in terms of the trails.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And what type of wildlife can runners expect to see while they're out there?
Well, in Little Mountain Park, because it's just on the outskirts of a fairly large metropolis in Winnipeg, part of the park is actually a dog park,
Okay.
like in the one corner. So we probably won't see too much wildlife other than some birds
Right.
and squirrels, that kind of thing. But there definitely could be deer
Yeah.
at night, that kind of thing. It'd be very rare to see like a black bear come towards the city like that, but they're kind of in the general area around us.
Okay.
But nothing normally that people worry too much about here until you're outside the city a little farther.
Yeah, excellent. And what would you say would be the course's biggest pressure point? Like, is there anything tough about the course that the runners should be mindful of?
Well, I think the tough part is just the monotony of like just generally doing a backyard ultra, and that it's very convoluted because the parcel of land is not like gigantic at all. So we're kind of looping around. That's, I guess, with the moniker for the name Prairie Chaos,
Right.
is the course is fairly chaotic with all the twists and turns.
Yeah.
But I would say probably the last mile in that open prairie, when they can probably see the camp, and like maybe hear the whistles if they're getting to the end, and that might be exposed during the day. And it's looking like we're getting somewhere between 26 Celsius and 32 Celsius as the ambient temperature.
Right.
And here the humidity's been pretty big this week.
Right. Okay.
So it could be even more. So that's hot for here, even in the summer. And we've also had a little bit of air quality problems here with wildfires recently. So we're crossing our fingers that the air quality is going to be nice on Saturday.
Yeah, like in the 30, those temperature ranges you said that is pretty warm, and especially if it's like exposed to the sun, like that could make it challenging.
Yeah, that only the last mile or so. So that's why I think that could be kind of the pressure point on the course is right at the end where people maybe have a lot of time, but they're kind of maybe walking it in and soaking in the sun a little too much.
Right. Yeah. And how many runners have signed up?
We have 21 runners so far.
Yeah.
We're hoping maybe to add a few more, but it's just the last few days but yeah, that's what we have for the first year here.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And it is the first
We're excited.
Yeah, it's the first year of the race, right?
It is the inaugural version of the race. And I knew with the other Backyard Ultra only being 3 weeks before this race that I was really limiting kind of the field that I likely could have. But due just to personal reasons, like we have plans already for most of August, which is when we plan to have the race in the future. We're looking at like the third weekend in August.
Yeah.
But this year for the inaugural, we just wanted to make it happen. And this is the best weekend that we had. Especially there's some other larger events happening in the trail running space in the first few weeks. So we were kind of limited to where like the weekend we had available.
Yeah. Okay.
But pretty excited about the turnout, and I think the vibe's going to be pretty high there.
So are there any runners of any runners people might have heard of or should keep an eye on?
No, I think for this event, it's pretty much a grassroots event. Most of the competitors haven't competed in a Backyard Ultra before. I think we have maybe a handful that have done a Backyard Ultra before. Yeah. But I think all of them, it's just been the local one that's happened either last year or 2.5 weeks ago at this point. And some of them are doing the double.
Oh, okay.
3 weeks after each other. So
yeah.
So again, I don't think there's anyone stand out to the greater backyard community that they would know for this race. But again, we know that it only takes 2 people, and so it's kind of unknowns at this point. I don't really. A lot of them don't have much of a back history on Ultra sign up, so we're just hoping for some good times, and I'm hoping to stay there for into the second day for sure.
Yeah,
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that you have run a Backyard Ultra or 2 as well. So can you tell me a bit about your Backyard Ultra running history?
Yeah, so I started off just interested in general in like the Barkley marathons and also the Backyard Ultra. I thought it was just a great format, but there wasn't really anything happening close to us or in Canada really too much before the pandemic. So the pandemic, I my first taste, I guess, of competing was the quarantine Backyard Ultra, just the online, and I was just doing it as a training run for one of my races I was doing. So I did that, and then after that, that year I was training for a bigger race, a Moab 240.
Yeah.
So I was doing like a lot of distance, and then because of me living in Canada, I wasn't able to like go to the United States during that time.
Yeah.
So at that time, the first like Big's Backyard satellite, like the national champion, or I guess the world championship countries was coming up.
Yeah.
And I just happened to know one of the runners putting the team together. So I got lucky and got to be like the 15th pick on that Team Canada team. Because there wasn't really a process to like earn your way on the team. It was such short notice and kind of in the pandemic year.
Yeah.
So that was my first like real race in backyard and
on the Canadian team. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, on the Canadian team. And we ended up getting bronze at that. So pretty proud of that. And that was kind of the taste. And then I've only done one since then, but I've dabbled a little bit. with it. I've gone to a few others to crew, and it's such a great time. I love the community vibe with it in terms of the running and also the crew. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, and do you have any races coming up yourself? Any backyard ultras?
I just did the one actually 2.5 weeks ago. I got in like last minute. It's called Old Tom's Backyard Ultra.
Oh yeah,
It happened. It happens in Manitoba here.
yeah.
And it went not as like I planned.
Oh,
I had a little hip issue that kind of sort of bothered me in hour 9.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing 10 loops, and
Yeah.
it was still a good day. Still
Yeah.
got an ultra marathon out of it and
That's it.
fun, but didn't feel too prepared. I only had 11 days notice when I got off the wait list.
Right. Okay.
I kind of forgot that I was still on the wait list, to be honest, and then just got this email and couldn't turn down the adversity, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm tipping you're pretty busy between now and the race. What kind of things do you have to do, like course marking and get everything set up? Like what?
Yeah. So course marking on Friday. We're going to do that in the early to mid afternoon because it is a City of Winnipeg park that we have a permit to the next day. So people are using it. I don't want to put the flags out too early because I don't want them to go missing or whatever or get misplaced. And then I'm gonna be there really early on Saturday, kind of setting up the start corral and in kind of the headquarters and getting the crew places out and marked. So we're gonna have a fairly early morning because we start at 7 a.m.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're gonna be
the race kicks
the race
off at 7 a.m.
Yeah, the bell rings at 7.
Yep.
Trying to get a couple loops in before the heat of the day because again, in the summer here, July 26th, we knew it was going to be like hot.
Yeah.
So considering that, we wanted to get an early start so that people could, at least get a couple loops because normally the heat really ratchets it up here about 2, 3, 4 p.m.
Right.
It can get hot like earlier, like midday, but it really gets hot in that like later afternoon.
Yeah.
So giving them some hours of some cooler weather was kind of a hope.
Yeah.
With the early start.
What time does the sun go down there approximately?
Yeah, in the summer here, it's probably going down 9:45.
Okay. So it's going to be a nice
or so.
Yeah, it's about
it's going to be
14 hours of running in the day. Yeah, cool.
Well, the sun's probably going to get up maybe around, I want to say before 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get like quite a bit of sunlight. Yeah, about 5 a.m., I would say, to, 9:30 at least.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's the opposite here because I ran in a backyard ultra last weekend and it was 14 and a half hours running in the dark.
Oh, yeah, we get the opposite thing in the winter here, big time. Like we can get like dark between 4:30 p.m. and to about 8 a.m.
Wow, yeah.
Or something. It's like not pleasant.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So how do people follow along at home? Will you be updating Facebook or anything like that?
I think we're going to be doing the live updates on Ultra Sign Up, so people can kind of look for the live updates kind of right on the Ultra Sign Up page. Yeah. I think we might do like one of those Google spreadsheets as well and kind of blast that out for some live updates as well. For a spreadsheet, but for sure we're going to do the Ultra Sign Up live updates right on the webpage there.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, loop by loop.
Yeah, unreal. Well, Prairie Chaos Backyard Ultra. Congratulations on organising your first one. All the best, and I look forward to seeing what happens.
Thanks so much, Pato.
Okay.
I'm hoping we can report some nice long yards.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, happy birthday.
All right, thanks so much.
Have a great weekend, and remember, just one more yard.